Hello, hello. We'll get going here. I can see myself in Restream. Oh, let's turn on LinkedIn too. And YouTube is going. How's everyone doing today? Let me know that you can hear me. I just get my windows arranged a little bit more. Hello, DCD. I was debating while I was like so excited to stream. One, I missed last week because I was out. And two, it's been quite a week. Quite a week. I look a little disheveled. I'll tell you why. Volume's okay. Thank you, DCD. Oh, all right. So, hello everybody. My name is Scott. I go by tannewt online. I work for Adafruit remotely out of Seattle. So I'm here in Seattle. Unfortunately, you can't see it. It's raining now, but it spent most of the morning snowing a little bit. Did not stick, but still fun to see some flakes come down. So I work for Adafruit. They're an open source hardware and software company based out in New York City. I said I work remote, and I work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python designed to make it really easy to program microcontrollers to do what you want. Microcontrollers are little tiny, like self-contained computers. For example, here is a monster mask, and there's a chip here, right there, that runs CircuitPython. So you plug into the USB, shows up as a drive, and you can change the Python code that runs on it, just like a USB drive. It's quite cool. So if you, Adafruit pays me to stream, it pays me to work on CircuitPython all week. So if you want to support Adafruit, you can go to adafruit.com and purchase hardware there. And if you ever find something on Adafruit that is out of stock, I encourage you to check DigiKey as well, or other resellers, potentially a reseller that's close to you if you're outside the US. Those still do help Adafruit as well. And sometimes they have stock when Adafruit doesn't have stock. So, yeah, it's been a week. I got sick, my daughter got sick, my wife got sick. And I've been running up against GitHub Actions all week. So yeah, it's been quite the time. So what has been happening is that I had the display stuff, and I realized I streamed it 2 weeks ago that I wanted to show the display stuff. But I couldn't get it running on GitHub Actions, and I was trying to figure out why it is, and I realized that it's actually due to runner image differences. So let's see if I can get a tab here going where I show you what I'm looking at. Let's go to the desktop. So I've been living in GitHub Actions land, and this is right now. I wanted to speed up the build. Hello, DCD, and I see VP Tech Ops is talking to you. So I wanted to speed up the build because the build is quite slow for Zephyr, and so this is my test build for that. It has not gotten to the Zephyr builds yet, so I can't see how those are going. Hi, Tyeth. Hi, Hemslabs. Yeah, thank you. We're on the mend. We're not 100%, but we are much better. And then let's see if I can. So the Zephyr display 2 is what I've been working on, and I've been poking it and poking it and poking it. Had the image variations problem when trying Act to locally run GitHub Actions. So I tried running Act and it didn't work. They don't publish the runner images, so you can't use the actual image, unfortunately. So I've been using Claude to like look at different running logs and adding debugging and trying to figure out what the issue is. I'm actually curious because there should be one. Yeah, so let's see what this looks like. It made it pretty far. So the issue that I'm having is with installing libstl2. So libstl2 is used by the native simulator to do the display output. And I actually have some changes dependent on that do I2S output, so like audio output, which I'm really excited about too. But the audio output native sim stuff is dependent on the SDL stuff, display stuff, because it uses the same dependencies. Ty says you need to use the large 12 gig image to avoid having to apt install loads of stuff, but it's not the default image for act and still varies a little bit from GitHub runners. Yeah, like they publish changelogs changes between, like, it's literally like the March 2nd one works and the March 9th one doesn't, and they tell you all the changes they think they made, but it's not clear why. So here, so it's in this setup Zephyr step that it either works or it doesn't work. And so it runs once as test Zephyr, and then it runs again for every board build. So here we can see that it worked. And there's a bunch of debug printing here. But if we look at the setup job, the runner image is that it's the March 2nd one. So this one works, but I've been digging into these weeds. We can also see like the Azure region, so West US2, and like if we look at my conversation here, this is my debugging with Claude, where it's like pulling down run logs and trying to figure it out. What we're trying to do here is remove Python 3 because like somehow we're trying to pull it. So the other wrinkle in this is that the native simulator runs in 32-bit mode because microcontrollers are 32-bit. So you want to do 32-bit builds of native simulator so that you're mimicking the pointer sizes and address space of a microcontroller. So even though we're running on 64-bit machines, we're doing all this multi-arch stuff so that we can run 32-bit native sim. So like often Claude is like, why aren't you just doing 64-bit native sim? And I was like, I really don't want to, because CircuitPython and MicroPython do all of this funny pointer packing. And it's like the pointer packing would be very different if we had 64 bits rather than 32 bits. So like I have to say, no. I do want the i386 version, not the AMD 64 version. And it looks like this. So I've tried a bunch of different fixes. None of them seem to work. And I don't know. I think I'm going the right direction of like print out as much debugging information that we can. Yeah, so like I got this working locally like 2 weeks ago, and like last week was a short week because we had a 3-day weekend, and then like I've been out sick, and I did take a foray into containers as well, so maybe we should talk about that, and that's still an option. So I saw this issue and I thought, oh, like containers are really like the right way to do this. But when I got containers working for the Zephyr build, it took like 3 minutes to set up the container. And I'm like, I'm really not wanting, like that was not as fast as I was hoping for. And I looked at some of our other jobs, which are like our other GitHub Actions jobs are quite optimized. And so like, I kind of just said, between the fact that containers weren't super fast and also, what was the other thing? So I don't do a lot of container stuff. So the other thing that I found was that for dev containers specifically, where you're taking a container and splatting your local tree kind of into a spot so that you can edit it, it's super aggressive. So it overshadows everything under that. So in CircuitPython, where we have these submodules and other folders that we want to cache in an image, that's hard to do with a dev container where the image includes a lot of what you want cached. So basically, I went down the dev container rabbit hole only to find that like I couldn't quite get it to work the way I wanted, and realized that like GitHub Actions cache is quite good for what we need, where we want to like pick and tease apart folders to like save and restore. Yeah, so I haven't figured out how to fix this yet, and I've been poking it, and like the turnaround time is quite long. So we can see that like it worked here with the old image in the tests, but then all of the board builds failed. So if we go to the board builds, we get this glib 2.0 dev bin fails to install. And I don't know enough. Oh, here we go. This looks slightly newer. This may be caused by held packages. So this is a slightly different warning than I got before, which is good. The Claude had some idea that it was like EFI dependent, but I had it printing out CPU. I think it should be doing still. Yeah, so like this epic 7763, I think is both works and doesn't work depending on the runner image. But they don't tell you that like anything changed in the runner image. But if we look at the setup job and the runner image here, we can see that this one that failed is on 3.9 and not 3.2. So I'm stuck in this world where it doesn't feel like my fault. And I can't figure out how to work around it. Let's see what Hamslab says. I took seriously what you said a few weeks ago regarding looking for ways to use feedback when debugging with a coding agent, and I've gone down that road heavy. Right now I'm setting up a fruit jam to run picoprobe for SWD or JTAG. The rest of the I/O can be used to monitor or inject signals. The RP2350 can emulate I2C and SPI devices. It can be actually made to act like these devices that allow debugging without the actual hardware. It's kind of fun to set up debugging hardware so the agent can debug by itself. Cool. I'm excited to do more of that myself. I'm getting a package hopefully today from M5Stack that has, did I talk about my desire for PoE USB host? I don't want to show my email. But M5 just came out, and thanks to Mithro who pointed me to this, it's a brand new M5 board that runs an ESP32P4 with Ethernet, PoE, and USB host. So I got a couple of these to try using as a like separate board runner sort of thing too. DCD asks, when you say install, are you meaning installing in the cross-compiling tools? So what the installation that's failing for me is I'm trying to install libstl2dev and libstlimage.dev packages, which are the header files for libstl and the image stuff. So the new display support uses libstl to render to like a headless thing, and then the image stuff is used to render its output to a file so that you can use it in testing. Taya says, was that container start time a Docker thing or because none of the final layers were pre-saved cached yet? There was some wizardry around you can optimize the copying and the work volume and doing final steps while still maintaining as many cache layers in your Docker image as possible. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a few days and a lot has happened in those few days. But I'll tell you that the hoops that I felt like I was going through to do all of the different layering and the caching and stuff, like I had to like tell it like, oh, do this do a new GitHub Actions job to create the container and use this thing so that you're caching the layers and all that stuff was not my favorite. And it felt like a lot of added complexity for not a lot of benefit. But then again, it would get me around this problem, I think. So yeah. Let's see what Claude thinks now. Because this is how I don't know what else to think about what we can print out. One thing we can do is that the last change here I made so it just runs the Zephyr builds to speed it up, because I'm absorbing like a ton of GitHub Actions time on Adafruit CircuitPython as well as my own. So what you can do is you can do rewind and just say okay. I'm just going to tell it again, like, here's the latest thing, tell me what you find. Hamslab says, turns out the PIO, especially on the RP2350, are particularly good for setting up hardware in the loop configurations. I believe it. Yeah, I'm fascinated by that, for sure. Fascinated to see how that works. I definitely want to get back to it. I'm just like, I was watching, there's Armin and, what's the other guy's name? There's a State of an Agentic Coding. I don't know if it's a podcast, but I find it on YouTube. And Armin, who did Flask and does stuff, is really thoughtful about this stuff. And they talked about how a bunch of people are like doing way more commits than they used to, but those commits I don't think are used. Like they're for hobby things or side projects that you don't actually look at. So the challenge I'm having, and I think I've talked about this on Deep Dive before, is like not creating code, but actually landing code and getting it in a thing that people actually use. And this displayio stuff is classic example of that, right? Like I've had displayio working on my local machine for like 2 weeks now, but like I'm running into this problem with GitHub Actions that like I don't know enough about to fix, and it's not going to, like Claude hasn't figured out how to fix it for me either. And so it's probably gonna give me the same options. So the debug prints were stripped and the install just does this, and then the package doesn't satisfy the i386. So it's like trying to get more context to try to figure out. See, do we even need the dev packages? We could like fake it, but the dev packages give us headers. Look, for option number 4, build STL2 from source. But it's not thinking about what changed. Like the question to me, like, and did we talk about, yeah, the resolver got stuck in a loop. EFI's AMZ64 signed is very high priority. Like all these things that depend on Python 3 are just like, make no sense to me. I thought the latest change was going to be to try to remove it. Let's just see. Set up port, run. List installed packages, get their status, remove Python 3, and then try to install it. You're requesting an impossible situation. I don't like that I can't see the output from each individual step. DCD says, why not built from source? Could print the held packages from apt might uncover some conflicting dependency being pinned. I'm just so frustrated that like it works with the old runner image but not the new one. Like the fact that it's flaky like that is just crazy to me. Like, should I file an image or should I file an issue on them? The removal is blocked by the new grub EFI package. I have to resolve that first to be able to remove Python 3. But I think that's the thing that's held, right? At least it ran a lot faster this time. apt-get with immediate configure false. Explicitly request Python 3i 3.86, so apt nodes should be replaced the AMD 64 version. It didn't actually move from an old grub to a new grub EFI though. Like there's no mention of that in the hosted in the runner image stuff. Like I don't believe that. Like, it bothers me that the -dev packages rely on Python 3. Like, how does that make any sense? Like, why are we pulling in Python 3 for this glib2dev thing? Like, yeah, I've looked at that. So Tyeth is pointing me to the repo. I've looked at this in releases. That's the Mac one. But here's, so apparently they mark them as pre-release as they roll out, and then once they're done rolling out, they mark it as a full release. Maybe I should just file an issue. It contains the source code used to create the VM images for GitHub hosted runners. I'm not convinced that this is where the changes though, because like there's very little changes here. Like the Python version went from 3.12 to 3.12.13, but there's like no mention of grub. And like the OS version, the kernel version, the image version, well, the image version changes, but the other three things do not change. Maybe I should just file an issue and say, look at these. Look at these jobs and why do they not succeed? I gave the LM the 2 releases from that repo. Yeah, so I had it doing like a bunch of debug prints, and then it was doing the debug prints on the 2 different, the ones that succeed and the ones that fail. I think I'll just file an issue, and if they want to tell me to bugger off, they can. Like, it's pretty clear to me that the install for libstl2 doesn't work on the new image. Ahoy, Dexter! Okay. New issue. It is not a security vulnerability. More like, get it to rebuild the images from each release tag so it can see the actual build stuff. Yeah, I could do that. I gotta go at 3 though, because I have Rin is home. She was struggling at daycare, so she's at home. So I gotta go take care of her after this, which I did Monday and Tuesday as well. But she's fun. Okay. How am I going to do this? Okay, I want to say we can build a binary links to libstl to build a 32-bit on new image with Johnny says my GitHub Actions wouldn't even run today. Failed to pull the containers. Wah wah. I definitely feel like the whole world is going through this like dip in software quality. Like I was trying the Claude Code remote control where like I use my phone or the web to talk to my local instances. It just doesn't work very well. And it's like, oh, your Claude Code, you're all Anthropic, you're vibing your way into all these features, but you're not testing them well enough. They don't work very well. Let's see, I don't know. I'm going to assume that they're going to need the raw logs as well. Let's see. Let's download this. title job log. Like, if they're able to run this image themselves, I feel like it should be easy to reproduce it. Which I should explicitly say how to do that. The SSH connector in Cloud Code without a problem. I haven't looked at that. SSH connector. We're seeing a bunch of half-baked features, is what I think. And that's the struggle I'm with, like having with my use of it too for CircuitPython, is like, fire this off, fire that off. I have code for this, I have code for that, and I have no idea if it works. And it probably works mostly, but not completely. Okay, we're going to save this as passing job log. There's no secrets in here, right? Hope not. Otherwise, we'll have to revoke it. Okay. I'm going to drag and drop. Sorry, I'm just looking through my downloads folder for these two things, and you don't need to see my downloads folder. Folks have any questions? To reproduce within an image, do Johnny says, as a small side topic, what are we developers supposed to do while waiting for Claude to finish? I have a customer insisting on me using Claude. My answer is to have 4 different work trees at once so that I'm like bouncing between different things I'm having Claude do. I have not gotten there this week. I've at most been doing 2 because I've been on my laptop most of the week. But today I was doing 2. So I was doing this, and then one thing I should show after I get my brain finished with this is Claude can be really helpful for, oh, come on. Copy. I don't know why my copy doesn't work all the time. I'm going to finish this, and then I will show you. So I've been working on a helper to try to get a better understanding of how well our GitHub Actions jobs are running. And it works, Claude works really well for that sort of thing. Okay, so this is what I want to work, and this is what I assert doesn't work. So it says, I'm trying to install this in our GitHub Actions so that we can build a 32-bit binary that links to libstl2. But it fails on the new image with this error. This does work on the older image. To reproduce within an image, do add the architecture, apt-get update, install these 2 things. And here's the logs from 2 different but same things. It is GitHub Actions standard runners with the 2404 image. I have not done that. If you have a public example, please provide a link to the failed version. Okay, so I can do, this is the passing one. Yes, works in. I gave this up here, but I'll just do it up down there again. I didn't realize it was part of the template. And it fails in this image. Look, I did pretty good. I didn't have to be prompted for this. Wouldn't you want to be the engineer that sees this on Friday? Two dev installs. Okay. Fails to install. Two dependencies. Maybe I should move this stuff. I should have read the whole template. Well, I guess I'm on this tiny window. All right, I think that's good enough. We'll see. So if you want to follow along, I will drop this in the Discord. If you want to get on the Discord, you can go to the URL adafru.it/discord. We've got about 20 minutes if folks have any other questions. Love the fact he said Opus with Zephyr is amazing. Anything with a lot of boilerplate or a lot of example code like Zephyr, it's been really good. One of those things that I have done that's coded by Opus, by Claude, but not tested by me is BLE server support. That's in my YOLO work tree, but my brain just can't handle another thing right now. Johnny says Claude is quite good at making Home Assistant integrations. Just made a YouTube live one so that my Google Minis tell me when Scott goes live. Oh, thank you. Hamzab says, I was using my iPhone through my Mac as a visual feedback for TFT display. When I was setting it up, accidentally got a pic of me from my webcam. I was waiting for Claude Code and it looked like I was asleep. Nice. Yeah, I'm really interested, like that feedback loop is really interesting to me. That's why I've been going so heavy into the native sim, and I think it is working out. Like, Tim was fixing some display.io bugs last week, about like font handling, and I was just like, oh, I wish when Tim was fixing this, he could have said, hey, Claude, like write a native sim test that exercises this. Like, I love to get to that point where we can say, like, add unit tests. And like, it's not to say that we don't have ways of doing unit tests already. Like, we have the Unix port, but the Unix port is quite different from the other ports. And so that's, I think, part of the reason I really am interested in the native sim is that the native sim, the CircuitPython code is the same for both the native sim, almost identical. There's a couple of spots, but basically the same between the native simulator and the Zephyr boards themselves, which I am just quickly accumulating. But yeah, so, okay, I found this issue. Let me show you this helper tool that I did. So over here in my Tiny Bytes work tree, I've been working on just a helper script that says, hey, download and cache all of the logs and then tell me some analysis of it. So if I start from the bottom, it says, okay, so this is one full run of CircuitPython. So this is what happens when you do one push to Adafruit CircuitPython. We can see kind of what the impact here is that we have these few builds that run first, how long they do. The Zephyr one is quite slow. The Zephyr test is quite slow. Oh, and while I've been digging into this, there is still a flaky Zephyr test, and it's driving me bonkers because I've done all the things I think to make it reliable, and I still can't get it reliable. I added this like rerunner, so if it fails, rerun it, and it still manages to run like 5 times and fail. Because it's missing like the last 3 characters of serial output or something. It's just, I should probably just disable the test because failing tests are just a huge pain. But I thought that I've made it. I thought I've done all the things to like make sure that everything gets flushed. Okay. So getting all of this context in my brain about GitHub Actions will hopefully allow me to fix this flaky test as well. I was like, should I get Azure Spot instances? Because if it varies based on the CPU, which I still think could be the case, and I had CPU being printed out. I'm not sure it's removed or not, but I think I do want to leave that in there. Because it's very weird that it's flaky. Like, if it fails, I can hit rerun, and it will often pass. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it could be this, like, runner image worker stuff, like something under the hood that, you know, causes timing to be different. Like if it's on a different CPU architecture and the test runs slightly differently on the 2, that sort of thing. So this is in summary, and we can see that for the Zephyr port, which is like, to me, the future, we only have 17 jobs compared to 245 Espresso jobs. But our average duration is much longer than anything. We're well over 1,000 seconds, whereas all of these other ones are a lot quicker. Love the Factory is asking, what optional canned skills do you use? Nothing deliberately. Nothing deliberately. I think I have seen it trigger some canned skills, but I've really not dug into skills as much as I should have. I'm like just starting to dabble in like Agents MD and stuff. Yeah, I'm still very early in my Claude world. Ooh, and we can also check to see if we got further. So I wanted to speed up the Zephyr build because they take like 20 minutes a build, which is a lot. And so I did 2 things. One is let's see, I think it did it in tiny bytes. I just changed to view trace. Oh, this is the one I want. I have too many windows. Does this window not propagate over all desktops? Okay. I wanted to go back to here and see how far we got. So, see, setting up the port took 8 minutes, which feels like a lot. The build board did drop, and we're building everything else, which we don't need to do. Why did it decide to build everything else? What did I change? It took 16 minutes instead of 20, so it got slightly faster. Which is good. I wonder if a second run would be faster. So I had it use ccache, which should, man, scrolling through these logs. The search on these logs is terrible too. So ccache gets saved and restored. This is a Zephyr thing. I thought I was going to get build output. Timestamp. What is going on? I think I can see. Okay, so here's cpbuild ccache stats. So we hit 66% of the time. Uncacheable calls are a third. Seems better. But 16 minutes is still quite long. It looks like these are being added, which makes sense because we're not, the stats thing is not taking translation into account. Which it should. I wonder why it's so slow. So yeah, this is something I'm playing around with too. Translations are really tricky because depending on how you do it, it can impact a lot. Like anywhere there's a string that gets translated, you have to recompile and then relink. And there's basically two of the ways that we do it, and I'm actually not sure which way we do it in Zephyr, but we have two ways that we do it outside of Zephyr. One is like we copy the function, the translate function into a bunch of, into every compilation unit so that it can get optimized away, or we use link time optimization to do that. Or the third way, DCD asks, where is the ccache saved between builds, or does it not persist? It does persist using the GitHub Actions cache thing. So we're almost to the bottom. I wonder if we'll find it here. Cache saved with key here. So it's compressing the cache and then sending it up to the actions cache. So it should be cache run to run, which will be nice. But 16 minutes is still quite long, unfortunately. We could, I think we're done here. I don't need to build everything else, and I don't know the BSIM's building. I was thinking the native ones actually shouldn't build in their own jobs here, because I'm not sure that they're portable. You may not be able to just download it and run it. You actually have to build it on your own box. So I'm going to cancel the last few runs to save some CPU cycles somewhere. We'll we'll see if they get back to me. Hopefully they do. It's pretty clear to me that like something changed between the two images. And the translation thing didn't seem to help that much. Oh, but you know what? I don't want to do that. I was going to change the way that this works. Not this. In here. No. In left field for the build speed up stuff. One thing that I've been doing a lot is Claude resume. So like, oh yeah, I like thought I was done. Remove the stats file. Printing it because we want it reset for every build CircuitPython call. I didn't actually need to do that within. Can you determine if the cache is overflowing? Is ccache also used when you build locally? I think it is used locally as well. Unlink. I guess that's right. Because I'm curious to see it per build because I want to see it miss more on the first one and hit more on the subsequent ones. Rename. I should probably do that. Ty says, since using Claude Resume a lot, I was pleased to see them add rename. Yeah, they're just like adding so much random stuff. Okay. Okay, run a test build. Or I'll just quit again. I am curious to see if our hit rate goes up running it a second time. Whether we have something that's spoiling it or not. But like this should basically hit identically, right? Because I'm only changing this build file, I'm not changing anything else. Any final questions before I wrap up? Sorry, I could have sworn like multiple times today that I had finally fixed it, which is the deception of using an LLM because they can be quite convincing. They're like, oh yeah, just do this and it'll work. And then you like push it and you wait 10 minutes and you're like, no, that didn't work. You seemed overly confident that it worked, but it did not work. Oh, let's merge Dan's PRN. Okay, I just gotta approve it. And we'll merge it in. Dan found a lot of random. Oh, you can't see. Sorry. My brain. Merge in Dan's SDCard related fixes. Issues with SPI bus sharing between displays and SD cards that are being accessed from USB versus CircuitPython code and all that stuff. So this will slow down my builds as well, but that's okay. Let's go back here. I don't think it's going to be super quick. we could see. Oh yeah. Now we just got to wait for this test. This test is quite slow. It passes because I don't have the display stuff in it. I am really excited to get synth.io and audio output going on Zephyr because Zephyr will be the first port that has a separate thread for filling the audio buffers. And so hopefully that means that it will play back better. That, and I have this Electrosmith Daisy board that runs a chip that we don't really support in CircuitPython, although somebody did add support for it. But I'd love to add Zephyr support for it too, as a test bed for Zephyr audio. Anyway, I'm collecting so many dev boards, it's not even funny. Oh, I should plug as a last thing. So on DigiKey, the LM20A, this is the NRF54 that I'm most excited about, and they're out of stock. Sorry. Hamzab says the Daisy board is amazing. Yeah, it looks pretty neat. Hey, they have last purchase now. That's great. I realize I've seen that before, but it's really helpful for deciding knowing if I already have something. Anyway, so this is one of the NRF54 series. And this is the, I think, sweet spot for CircuitPython. There is an H20 that is faster and more powerful, but it's also 1.8 volt I/O. And it's quite complicated. It's got a number of different cores and there's a lot of complexity there. And then there's also this L15 that doesn't have USB, but is a lot simpler. And this LM20 that I was subscribed to for in-stock things, so I ordered 2 of them, and they're coming next week. These are more interesting because they're a sweet spot. They have USB. They're not much better than an NRF 5340 based on RAM amount. It's the same, it's 512K RAM, but it is high-speed USB, I think. So these are potentially really interesting, and they're 3.3 volt I/O. So as always, I'm collecting more dead boards than I know what to do with. And so I'm excited to get these and get these running with the Zephyr port. And they were in stock and now they're not, so sorry. I think that's it. We could watch these. I don't know if the Zephyr one takes kind of a while. Yeah, it's not even building the targets yet. We won't wait for this. If you want to follow along, you can always go to github.com/tannewt/CircuitPython. That is where I am working on all sorts of random stuff. The best way to do that is, and this is the way I do it too, is you do github.com/tannewt/CircuitPython, and then you can hit this. This is, right now it's a branches icon, but there's also a branches word if your screen is bigger. That's the best way to see what I've been poking at. So Zephyr cache, this is caching Zephyr setup, which I haven't gone back to. Here's the audio stuff that I've been poking at. You can see the stuff I was trying to do with the containerizing stuff, and then speeding up Zephyr build. So if you want to see kind of what I've been poking, this is where things go, even if I don't make a pull request to Adafruit CircuitPython. Okay, we made it. Thanks for deep diving with me. I will switch cameras. So this has been another deep dive with Scott. I hope that you got a glimpse into the world of LLMs can't help you with everything, especially when it comes to GitHub Actions runner images, changing things and breaking them, which is this world I'm in. I'd rather not be in, but apparently I am. So, job security is feeling strong right now. If you want to support me, you can go to adafruit.com, purchase hardware there. Or if you have a local reseller distributor from Adafruit stuff, feel free to pick them up there as well. It still supports Adafruit, who supports me. We're doing all of this fun work on GitHub Actions and runners and stuff. I'm excited to bring the Zephyr port of CircuitPython to more people. Next week, I want to also circle back into explorations I was doing last week on building a UF2 compatible bootloader based on Zephyr, based on MCU boot, but making it easier for people to bring UF2 bootloaders to Zephyr boards along with CircuitPython Zephyr to those boards as well, if that made any sense. If you want to chat with me, you can go to the Discord, go to adafru.it/discord. That's the middle chat here. I'm surprised nobody was in the YouTube chat, but that's the way it goes. And besides that, preemptive thank you to DCD, who usually does timecodes for these, and I put them in the comments in the description, which I will probably do tonight after the kids are in bed, so that I can head home right now. With that, everybody have a great weekend. It's fun to hang out with you and bring you into my world for an hour each week. Thanks to Tim for filling in last week, and also check out, Tim does do streams at 8 a.m. on Tuesdays, I think. He has a dedicated Adafruit streaming slot during the week as well for Tim's Deep Dives or whatever. I think he might have a new name. I've been out of it. So thanks to Tim as well. Thank you to everybody who's in the Discord. Have a great weekend. I will talk to you next week. And here is a not snowy look out the window. Still very gray. Gray and rainy here in Seattle. Have a good one.